Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching. My name is Sean Driver, and we've got a new one here. The summer transfer window is closing September 1st, and so what I wanted to do was kind of look at things, explain the rules, the regulations, go through the lineup and the roster, and provide a couple of options as who is the person that's on the way out and or persons. We don't know if Wrexham's going to add players, and of course we're only talking about outfield players here. We'll get through those details. But if they are going to add players, then there's additional players that are going to have to go. So who's potentially at risk? At least what my thoughts are. I'm hoping that this stirs up some discussion. I anticipate it to be controversial because no one's going to see this exactly the same. We all love these guys. We all love what they offer. We love their heart, their performance, their upside. There are going to be some people who absolutely will never move. And then there's going to be some people that, depending on positions, depending on circumstances, they've got to go. So it's a tough one to do. I'm going to get into it. Welcome to the Red Horde. So obviously, if we're going to end up looking at the closing of the summer transfer window, we're going to have to talk about what that is. We're going to have to talk about the rules and regulations. I'll get into that. There are going to be a number of assumptions. Please keep them in mind when I go through the assessment here, because I don't know what Parkinson's looking for as far as potential players coming in. I don't know what he has as far as strength of form, for injuries, for those sorts of things. So this is just sort of a best guess as to potential options out there as to who the player is going to be that's going to have to leave. The reason why I say that is, well, we'll count out the numbers of the players that are there, but we're going to have over the 22 player limit. So what do the rules say? Okay, so we're going to go into section 6 of the EFL regulations. You can get that online by searching PDF. It's a large document. You're going into part 6. 43.2 is the regulation under Division 6. It says the summer transfer window will conclude at a time determined by the league. All right, so we've got a soft deadline unlike the start of it. And what did they pick? Well, they picked 11 p.m. September 1st. An interesting and odd one, and I only say a little bit odd because we'll just take a quick little look at 44.9.3. If you look at that one, it says each club shall submit its squad list to the league, A, within 24 hours of a transfer window, or B, such other date as time as may be notified by the league. So you've got those two things there. Now, what is the squad list? Well, the squad list as it affects League 1 and League 2 is at 44.91 and 44.92, and it says as follows: clubs shall be permitted to name up to a maximum number of players in their squad list based on the following provisions. We can miss A, that's for the championship; B, for League 2, 22 players, of which a minimum of 8 must be homegrown. And you want to know what homegrown means? Well, you have to go to another definition that's up above, and I'm not going to get it into here. If I ever get this academy video done, I'll be able to talk about it more. But basically, homegrown players are those players that have been registered with their club or with a club in England and Wales for a period of 36 seasons. And I'm not going to, 36 seasons, 36 months, 3 years. So if you've been with a club or you've been with another club in England or Wales for 3 years, you're a homegrown player. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of that rule for our purposes here because it's not really an issue made down the road. The other provision that's at 44.9.2 is that the following players do not need to be included in the squad list. And with respect to League 2 clubs, that's under subparagraph B, and it says, in respect of League 2 clubs, 1, any under 21 players and any goalkeepers. All right, so let's roll that back and talk about what do we have to have by September 1st at 11 p.m. or within 24 hours from that period. We need to have a list of 22 players of outfield players, everybody but the goaltender, and we can exclude from that list anyone who is under 21. So how's under 21 defined? The definition of an under 21 player is someone who is under the age of 21, so that's 20 and under, as at 1 January in the year in which the season commenced. So they put a nice little example there, and that's what we'll go with, is example for season 2023-2024, born on or after January 1st, 2002. So that makes it easy. We've got the list. So the first thing to do, and I'm not going to bring the pictures up for them, is we get to exclude the goaltenders. So Leighton, Howard, Nicholas, Hall, you are not on the squad list, as funny as that sounds, just simply because goalkeepers are not tracked for that purpose. What does it also mean for us if we are looking for a goaltender for a replacement because of the Foster retirement is we're essentially able to add at will and not have to take anybody away. So no harm there in going and getting somebody other than we're out of pocket, and that's the decision for Rob and Ryan. And go and get one if you want one, guys. That's sort of the message. As to the under 21s, that leaves 5 players that are under 21. Scott Butler, December 30th, 2002. Max Cleworth, September 9th, 2002. Aaron James, June 30th, 2005. Owen Cushion, January 5th, 2005. Dan Davies, November 20th, 2004. We've got, whether the players are on loan or not, don't have to hit the squad list either, but we're good for our purposes here in just identifying those players that are under 21, even if they are away from the club. Jake Bickerstaff, born September 11, 2001, so he counts. And that's sort of the dividing line as to the youth on our team. So you've got Butler, Cleworth, James, Cushion, Davies. They don't have to be listed. We can use them as we go through the season. And Bickerstaff, though, is going to have to be listed. So I went to the webpage for Wrexham AFC to find out who's listed, and rather than go transfer market footy stats to say if we're listing them as our players, then they're still with the club in some capacity. So I wanted to find out what the actual number was. What I found odd, Wrexham, we've got 13 defenders, 9 midfielders, and 5 forwards that are listed. That's 27 players. So for me, I went 27 minus the 5. We don't have anyone to get rid of, so why is everybody talking that somebody has to be out? Oddly, McLean's not on the roster, so not listed on the website. Don't know what the reason is for that. And so now the intention is to go through and talk about each position and identify who the ones that I say are safe, and I'm going to mark who I suggest are considerations for having to move out, whether that be on loan, whether that be a transfer, that sort of thing. Again, under the assumption, I don't know if anyone's interested in, and they're talking about our players. I don't know if somebody's, say, on the phone looking for a cheap get for a striker, based on their history and not their recent performance, because in that regard, Billy Waters might be somebody who could go out. I don't know those things. So I'm just flagging people who may not have a place with the club based on where our strengths and weaknesses are and how deep we are in certain positions. So here we go. At the defender's position, we've already got the list up there and we're marking off the U21s. We don't have to worry about those. And so let's go through the list and identify who are those that I suggest are going to be the untouchables. They're going to stay with the squad, and there's no circumstance I can see where they end up leaving unless, there's a big transfer fee to move somebody out. So let's go through the list and what I ended up saying of the players that we've got. Again, if you don't agree with me, the comments are below. Feel free to let me know there. We may, if we get an opportunity, I'd really like to have a roundtable discussion with other podcasters and that sort of thing. If anybody's interested, I've talked to at least one other about doing that, and maybe this is a topic for a discussion. I've got marked as my certain to stay as defenders: Tozer, Hayden, O'Connell, Mendy, Boyle, Barnett, and that's my list. So who does that leave potentially available to be shipped away? Well, that's McFadden, Tunnicliffe, and Hosanna, and let me tell you why, and why a little bit the strengths and weaknesses as to why I think that decision's not going to happen is with McFadden, 29, left back. He's played in the one game. He was in the Wigan EFL Cup match where he played 58 minutes. He's not listed as a sub elsewhere. He's a left back, and at that position, we've got Mendy, so he's either cover for Mendy, and it depends on where you think McLean fits. Some people think he's going to be on the left side in the midfield. Some people think that he's a replacement or at least cover for Mendy in certain circumstances. So I think that he's part of a superfluous situation down the left side, depending on where you see Mendy fitting. 25 games last year, 7 more as a sub. He did have a hernia in the offseason, and it took him some time to get back, but he's been back. I think McFadden's could be in jeopardy. The other defender I mentioned that could be on the way out is Jordan Tunnicliffe, center back, 29, almost 30. Last season, 30 games, 1 as a substitute. Nothing since April 7th of last year. And I know he had a calf injury, but I'm to understand he's close, if not ready to come back. Important consideration with him is at the center back position, we're stacked now, especially with Boyle coming in. We've got Max Cleworth, who's making a step up, and most of the discussion is he stays, and I think that that's accurate. Is Tunnicliffe we've got lots of solid center backs. We've got a young guy coming up who's showing capacity. And so what happens there, we'll see. I'll come back and do a summary when I get through the whole list. The other one I have listed is Bryce Hosanna. And I know people are going to say, what are you talking about? He's 24. He's played in the one game with the MK Dons for 11 minutes. The right back position, we've got Ford's been playing there. Barnett's been playing there, I think, and I recall him being further back as well as up front on the right side, but could potentially fit in as cover there. The issue I have with Bryce is, yes, he's 24. He just hasn't shown enough step up for me. And so when we're looking at players that may end up looking to have to go out, whether that be on loan or otherwise, he might be somebody who needs to go and get some minutes. And a loan, short-term loan, something along those lines may benefit him. So I've listed him there as a potential option. So let's wrap up the defenders then with Callum, Jordan, and Bryce. So in the midfield position, the players that I suggest are going to say there's no circumstance where they can depart unless there's somebody with holding a whole gob of cash in front of us and it makes sense, is Luke Young, Anthony Ford, Andy Cannon, Tom O'Connor, James Jones, and Elliot Lee. So who does that leave as far as the midfielders are concerned? Jordan Davies, Liam McElhinden. Jordan Davies, 24, almost 25. Last year he had 15 starts and 15 in as a sub. 66 minutes played this season through three games. So he's being used by Parkey, and he does have a goal, but I kind of listed him because I needed to come up with somebody in the midfield. And when you go through the list, and I guess I should add James McLean to that list, even though he's not listed on my graphic and not listed on the website. So let's just add James McLean. Jordan, I don't really think he's going to go, but I'm trying to find a potential other option that's there. And if it's not just for gobs of money, he's the closest I can get. Liam McElhinden, I hate to say it, of all of the players that are here, probably most likely at jeopardy of not making it and not staying with the squad if they can loan him out. Again, there's two thoughts to loaning people out. Do you loan somebody out? Do you let them out of your 22-man roster because you've got an opportunity for their growth and development at a lower level? Great, then we go ahead and do that. If we're not able to find somebody who wants to pick somebody up, or we've got to move somebody else through a transfer to try and we want to get somebody who's lower on the list, McElhinden's probably that guy. So 29, almost 30, 5 games last year, 13 as a sub, none of them this year. I'm not aware of any injury concerns. And so he seems to continually be the odd man out in the midfield, which makes you think, is there at 29 a position for him to go down a step or two to get in some matches? Or is this a circumstance where we're going to end up with a youth taking that time and Liam still hanging around with the club? So those who I've got there, the forwards going to get a little bit maybe more controversial here is Palmer, Mullen, Dalby. They're not going anywhere. Bickerstaff, I have to list him only because of the suggestions that he needs more playing time, and I don't disagree with that. So he may be out on loan. I don't like that idea, and I'll tell you why. I still think, even after the game yesterday and Palmer's improvement, I still think Bickerstaff has shown enough to prove that he's number 2 on our depth chart after Mullen. I know that some people are going to think that that's crazy. The decline of Palmer has sort of happened over the last season. I guess it's been almost a season, because I think it started midway through last season. So Palmer, if is declining, debatable. You come at me if you want to. And Bickerstaff is on the way up. If he hasn't usurped him in the second place on the depth chart, then maybe he will. Dalby, I know he's been given lots of opportunities. I don't think he's taken the bull by the horns with Mullen's injury to end up asserting himself higher on the table. So I still have him at 4th behind the Bickerstaff Palmer question. And then I've got Billy Waters, who 28, almost 29, and hasn't been performing. And so I guess the question is are we looking to move somebody out who's younger to get them more playing time? And if we are, then Bickerstaff is screaming for that sort of circumstance. If we're looking to move somebody out on a transfer and somebody's interested and looking to get somebody cheap to be able to bring in who's got some past experience, even if they haven't been performing up to par recently, then potentially Billy Waters is that guy. And if we bring in a striker, which a lot of people have been claiming, even with Mullen somewhat on the near horizon and coming back, then you've got to let go 2 people. And I think that question then becomes, again, Bickerstaff, Waters. What do we end up doing in that circumstance? I think we would only be carrying 5. And so for me, those are the 2 people that are at jeopardy. Here's the list. Then these are the players that, irrespective of anybody coming in, because if somebody comes in, it changes the dynamic, right? There may be a new addition. Also, it may change the dynamic if somebody's banging on the door and saying, hey, we know Hayden's injured, but we'd like him back, or we'd like O'Connell, or we want somebody along those lines, and we're willing to pay in the transfer window. I don't think that that's likely going to happen. I think it's probably just choosing an option from this list as to what's best for the team going forward, and maybe 2 if we add. I don't anticipate anyone leaving. So I've got McFadden, Tunnicliffe, and Hosanna for the defenders, Davies, McAlinden for the midfielders, Waters, Bickerstaff. I would suggest that if we're just looking for, let's make the club as strong as we can, irrespective of position, I think it's McAlinden that ends up going. If we're looking to, if Parkinson is not with me and you're not with me, that Bickerstaff has moved up to number 2 on the depth charts for the forwards, because if he's number 2, he's getting his run out, right? Frequently, he's getting his game time in, and he's earned it, and I think he has earned it. But if you're not with me, then it's probably Bickerstaff would be loaned out. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are. Let me know in the comments if you've enjoyed this. Subscribe, like. I've got the Bradford videos being researched, or been researched, and I've just got to put the production away for that one. This one's going to be really quick and really ugly, really dirty, because I've got family commitments that I've got to do here on the Sunday. We're going to try and do the game on Bradford. Audio only, going to be awkward. That'll be weird for the cup. But if you haven't joined the watch party, make sure you come on, do that. They're growing. 500 and some chat messages sent last time as we went through things, and people listened to me talking about the game and what's going on. So, not going to waste more of your time. I'm going to try and put the graphics together really quick and get this one out there. You won't notice how long that takes to get out there. Thanks for everything. This is the Red Horde. We'll see you later.